Previously on the Strife channel. I think about making Ara 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 with Shenhe, but anyway, I'll see you guys in 8 months when I decide to make another voice video. Bye. Well, we're back, and this time it's the Shenhe edition. Truth be told, I neglected making this video for a whole update plus, because Shenhe really doesn't work too well for Ara purposes. Because without Chongus, Kayak, or Ganyu on a team, she doesn't help as much. So in other words, 80% of the Ara roster just don't synergize that much with her. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get into Shenhe's kit. Starting with her talents, MILF Ganyu's autos are a 5-hit combo and her charge attack is a standard horizontal pole dance. E has 2 variations when taking her second passive into consideration. One being her tap E increases your team's E and Q damage by 15% for 10 seconds, and her hold E increases your team's autos, charges, and plunges by 15% for 15 seconds. This means Shenhe is capable of buffing every form of damage for your team, which sounds like pretty great utility. However, you're gonna have to prioritize one over the other. Unless you have C1, because her cooldowns match her buff durations for tap and hold.
Respectfully.
Oh, my bad. I don't know what came over me. I meant respectively. It also increases your team's damage based on her current attack, unlike these two, and build up damage stacks when your characters deal cryo damage, and more stacks are gained if you hit more enemies. Moving on to her Q, it's a that intermittently deals cryo damage, kinda like another fellow cryo aura, and additionally it lowers your enemy's cryo and physical resistance, which sounds perfect for a certain
vengeance.
It has a duration of 12 seconds and is on a 20-second cooldown, and it's an 80 cost because why the hell would Hoyoverse ever make another 40 cost character again? It's not like we haven't had a low cost character since Aloy. Anyway, Shenhe's first passive gives your active character an additional 15% cryo damage boost during her Q's duration. We went over her second passive when talking about her E already, and her third passive gives you 25% more rewards when deploying Shenhe on a 20-hour expedition in Liyue. Moving on to Constellations, C1 is incredible as it grants you a second charge of her E. This is where you would want to tap and hold her E to buff every single form of damage for your team. C2 increases the duration of her Q from 12 to 18 seconds and grants your active characters 15% extra cryo crit damage. C3 increases her E level by 3, blah blah blah. C4 allows Shenhe access to her E stacks that you can build with cryo damage, in which you can have a max of 50 stacks. These last for a minute and equate to 5% E damage for Shenhe per stack, meaning you can build up to 50 stacks of 5%, which equals 250% damage for Shenhe's E once you use it. C5 increases her Q level by 3, blah blah blah. C6 removes a trigger quota that her E has for when characters deal auto or charge attacks, meaning they can attack as many times with cryo damage without a limit. Alright, it's pretty plain to see that Shenhe is a support character. Not a universal support like Bennett, instead she's a dedicated cryo teammate. Kinda like how we have Sara for Electro and Goro for Geo. Although Shenhe's kit deals with cryo damage and buffing it up for your team, so which weapon is best for her? Well, clearly the one with the most attack, since she scales her buffing off of current attack. So Calamity Queller is an obvious choice since it has the highest base attack at 741 alongside Broken Pines, and it also has a secondary substat of attack percent as well. Also, its passive is literally designed for her after all, so if you have it, run it on Shenhe. If you don't, any other high attack weapons work like Wavebreaker or Skyward Spine, the latter having recharge which Shenhe can definitely use. I personally use Wavebreaker because it's the highest attack stat for all 4-star polearms by a ton, and even has higher than half of the 5-star roster. And Shenhe is an 80 cost which aids to its passive. But the main reason I use it is because it looks better in her compared to the other options. For other 4-stars, Liptic and Favonius work well for additional attack gain from the Ethnic bonus and the recharging abilities respectively, and both have a base attack of 565. For artifacts, Shenhe is the easiest 5-star to build since she only needs attack. So 2-piece Gladiator and 2-piece Shimenawa is perfect for her. For main stats, go for an attack cup, hat, and hourglass if you want maximum buffing from her E. If you're willing to drop some attack for consistency, go with an energy recharge hourglass to help with her 80 cost burst. For substats, look for attack percent, recharge, and then flat attack. While crit rate and crit damage are nice, they're not necessary for a support build. However, if you want to make a DPS Shenhe, your standard DPS spread of crit damage or crit rate hat with the cryo cup and an attack percent hourglass on either 4-piece Blizzard Strayer or 2-piece Blizzard and 2-piece Glad/Shim is the way to go. On to teams. As I said earlier, because without Chongus, Kayak, or Ganyu on a team, she doesn't help as much. You'd want Chongus for Cryo Infusion, Ayaka for Cryo Infusion, and Ganyu, because she's Ganyu. But, as per tradition, we gotta keep it Ara, so clearly Eula and Rosaria are perfect fits since both are capable of dealing hybrid cryo and physical damage. In the 4th slot, it's gonna be Jean. Did you really expect it to be anyone else? She's literally on every single team I make in every Ara video. I mean, you could use Raiden, Beidou, or Lisa for Super Conduct, but none of them heal, so Jean it is. So for this team, Shenhe will be our attack buffer, Rosaria for crit buffing and debuffing, along with sub DPS, Eula will be our main DPS, and Jean for healing and VV debuffing. This also gives us double cryo for more crit. So for setup, I'll go through 2 types, one for tap E for skill and burst damage, and one for hold E for physical damage. Starting with the hold E setup, start with Shenhe's hold E to buff out your team's attack and auto attack damage, switch to Jean and VV shred to lower cryo resistance, and if you have C2, siphon Shenhe's particles to Jean to gain the attack speed buff. Then switch back to Shenhe and Q to lower cryo and physical resistance some more, switch to Rosaria and E to increase her own crit rate, and then Q to transfer 15% crit rate to your team if you have enough on her yourself, and also to lower physical resistance by another 20% if you have C6. Now this can go 2 ways. You can either stay as Rosaria and use her as a sub DPS, or you can switch to Eula and use her as a main DPS, which would be up to personal preference. If we pick Eula, just switch to her and Unga Bunga your way to a low HP bar. Alright, onto the tap E comp. This is going to be pretty similar, except you start with for tap E instead. Jean, Shenhe, and Rosaria's steps stay the same for this purpose, except now you will switch to Eula and do her EQE combo. I'm sure you're familiar with it at this point. And this setup should make Eula's sword bomb extremely devastating for crits. Alright, enough talk. Here's music, gameplay, and nut.
一両に従えいざ震えなさい諦める剣に誓う魂に諦めるいざこれもだよ不言せよ許さないパーフェクトこれもだよ結晶せよ砕け散れ我らを導き一両に従え諦め眠るな結晶せよ憲兵王は立つ砕け散れそれよっはいはっそら命ずる諦めるパーフェクト天心直送風の神よ我らのせやはっ眠るのちどうね結晶せよ走行の王競争よけせや風よ震えなさい走行の王
Alright, that's it. That's Chongyun's on in the Ara Ara team. It's not the best one I've ever made, but still, it follows tradition. Hope you enjoyed. Twitch, every weekday, 7 PM PST. Discord, join, do, please, now. And I'll make another video at some point in time, and that's about it. Bye.